Good morning, folks. It's Monday, the 16th of August 2021, and it's time for DaviePHD's Mythbusters, episode 39. In these videos, I bust the myths surrounding Scottish independence, and this week, I'm busting the myth that the latest ScotGov advice to schools is going to change all of our schools into mini drag queen pageants. We all want our children to grow up to be happy, healthy, well-adjusted individuals. This involves nurturing and guidance from parents and teachers alike. Now, just last week, the Scottish Government issued guidance to schools on a rather delicate matter. And that matter is what to do if a child expresses a wish to change gender to a teacher. And it's fair to say it hasn't been universally well received, both inside and outside the independence movement. Now, if our chums at the Daily Mail and our opponents like George Galloway are to be believed, our schools will soon be like little junior drag clubs, as they've covered this issue with provocative phrases like gender-bending madness. Children as young as 4 will be able to change their gender at school without their parents' consent. It also tells teachers not to question a child who says they want to transition to live as a boy or a girl. Or, my personal favourite, children are being allowed to make life-changing decisions at too young an age. Now, of course, the Daily Mail is the newspaper that tell us all the Brexit issues are the EU's fault. You know, they never let the facts get in the way of a good provocative headline. So let's take what they say with a pinch of salt. The fact is that all this guidance allows teachers to do is 1. Offer support to our children at a time when they'll really need it. 2. Allow children to use an alternate name at school. And 3. Allow children to use a bathroom they were previously not allowed to use. And that's it. That's all it does. So if, say for example, a 5-year-old boy who we'll call Wee Jimmy comes to school and says to his teacher that he wants to be a little girl, the following will happen. Wee Jimmy will be asked which girl's name he would like to use. In the class, Wee Jimmy will be allowed to call themselves, Wee Jemima. And if they wish to, they'll be allowed to adopt female or gender-neutral pronouns. However, in the school register, the kid will still be Wee Jimmy, a boy. And Wee Jimmy Jemima will not be allowed to cross-dress at school without the consent of his parents, as he'll likely still get dressed at home. Now, I'm sure the very last thing trans people need is some painfully average heterosexual middle-aged man, like me, explaining their issues. But this isn't for them. It's for us norms. And because us norms don't really do a good job of listening to trans people, hopefully you'll all listen to me. Because as a trained investigator, when I'm conducting an investigation, I often do an exercise called a substitution test, which is to change one thing in a situation, leave everything else the same, then try to analyse the predicted results. And that test can be applied here. Now, I'm not transgender, LGBTQI+, or anything. I'm a boringly normal heterosexual. And if you are one of those who are outraged at this new guidance, then I'm going to assume that you are too. With that in mind, I want you to imagine that Wee Jimmy's classmate, Wee Johnny, exists in a parallel universe where absolutely everyone transitions to a new gender at adolescence or early adulthood. And starting in childhood, people are incrementally encouraged towards this new gender. Now, in this parallel universe, compulsory gender transition is the natural order of things and is generally accepted by all. But Wee Johnny, just Wee Johnny alone, doesn't want to transition. Wee Johnny wants to remain a boy and grow up to be a man. Try to imagine how Wee Johnny would feel about being made to do something that, despite being the norm, felt wrong to him with every fibre of his being. Imagine how wee Johnny would feel if everyone was pressuring him to become something he didn't want to become. Now, I can't imagine a lived experience like that. And if it isn't totally obvious to all why I can't imagine that experience, I'll explain. It's because I was just accepted for who I was, as I always have been. And if you too are a boringly average heterosexual, I imagine you were just accepted for who you were too. Now, research has shown that the great majority of trans people experience their gender feelings very early in life. And many trans people experience resistance from almost every quarter on their journey. Parents, siblings, extended family, friends, teachers. Now, our schools aren't going to be legally changing any kids' names or genders, referring them to clinics for hormone treatment or gender reassignment surgery. What our schools will offer under this guidance is one safe place, just one safe place, where children experiencing gender issues are at no risk of being judged, where their preference on names and pronouns will be respected, and one safe place where that respect has a chance to spread to their peers. I imagine even with the acceptance of their schools and their peers, many of these children will still face arduous daily battles for acceptance at home. From their parents, from their siblings, from their extended family. Their lives still will not be easy. It's also worth keeping in mind that the Scottish population is just over 5,400,000. Transgender people are 24,000 or 0.4% of the Scots population. That's 4 in 1,000. Under 16s who have sought help with gender issues are 128, from a demographic of 930,000. Now that's just 0.013% of Scottish people under 16, or 1 in 7,600. Put simply, with such small numbers affected, this isn't going to be some big issue, and the people most directly affected by it don't want it to be. A very, very small section of our society, who are doing us norms no harm at all, are in need of the support of the majority. And whilst I can't begin to imagine their lived experiences, I try to think of this issue, and others like it, in those terms. For the most part, these kids, whether they fully transition as adults or decide it was just a phase and go back to their birth gender, they just want to get on with their lives, without being poked and prodded and ridiculed and judged, just like we, normal, heterosexual people, have always been allowed to. Now, for a bit of perspective, 0.013% of kids are currently seeking help with gender issues in Scotland. That is approximately 1 in 7,600. Given that the average size of a primary school class is 23, you'd have to go through 330 primary school classes to find just one kid seeking help with gender issues. And if a teacher has an average career of 30 years in the school system and teaches average size classes throughout, then statistically 1 in 11 teachers will encounter just one child needing this support in their entire career. Now, please don't think that in producing this video that I'm some kind of lefty woke snowflake. Personally, I didn't have a strong opinion on this one way or the other until I had to research it for this video. And that's because I saw it as such a small issue. I hadn't seen it as even remotely controversial and hadn't actually given it much thought. And you don't have to be said lefty woke snowflake to hope that when that one kid in 7,600 seeks help for that 330th primary school teacher, that they are given the support they need. And you certainly don't have to be a lefty woke snowflake to think it's a good idea that 1 in 11 teachers who will have to deal with a gender-curious child just to once in their entire career actually know what to do when it happens. And that is why the guidance was issued. I suspect the outrage caused by the Daily Mail, George Galloway and similar commentators will far outweigh any actual issues caused by an infinitesimally small amount of children being allowed to use different names, pronouns and bathrooms at school. And when you consider this issue in those terms, you, like me, will see that a mountain is being made out of a molehill. If you can accept that, then you, like me, should see this for what it is. A unionist attack line. Now, if you are one of our unionist friends, your attack line has failed. Jog on. If you're an independence supporter who's raging against this, ask yourselves one question. What exactly is the point of separating from Tory Britain if we intend to stay just like them? Folks, thanks for watching. Please feel free to share this video with anyone you like. DaviePHD.